And we're back with another episode of Drawing Lines on Paper. Doing some warm-up here. Alright, now we're gonna get into it. So, the first sets are just gonna be our wonderful, chillaxing hatches. Yes, that's right, the chill hatching. Just a bunch of little straight lines in different forms across the page. Sitting down and doing this originally was a lot. This upped the game a little bit for me. After I did all of these, like this next set, just rows of little hatches, and that seems simple. This was a whole new level. This took what I had done previously and elevated it to another level. By the end of this page, I felt ready for even more. And then, you're fanning of a hatch. I thought that one was pretty cool. I do encourage people to turn their page when you do these types of angled ones. It is so much easier than trying to angle it while keeping the page in one position. Then, you really upgrade your cross-hatching by doing little cross-hatch inside of a cube. So, yeah, that was fun. My brain exploded on this one when I got to it. I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, that's so many. And then I did it across 12 different boxes with a couple different other types of pens, and I was like, what am I doing to myself? But I did it, and then I continued to do it on another piece of art elsewhere, so apparently I really like this one. So, you find little things that you enjoy doing along the way. But when I first started this one, I was like, oh my gosh, my brain. And then you've got your little cross-hatchy situation happening where you've got little hatches crossing each other. That one was really cool. And as you see, when you do one layer of hatches, it's pretty basic. And then you do another one on top of it, and it really enhances this depth and this value, which is cool. And instead of having just straight lines all the way through, you've got little ones. So it kind of creates this more edgy and grungy looking texture or stroke or whatever you want to call it. I did that one. And then we got our rows of hatches like we did before, but then we're going to cross those, we're just going to cut those up. And I noticed that in it kind of looked like he went in and did some areas maybe a little bit differently. Maybe that's just what it looked like to me, so I did try to replicate that. Ultimately, what all of these kind of are about is you've got your one layer and then you've got your second layer, and the more you put on top of these layers, the more darker it gets. That's what's cool about it. And then you've got your uneven hatching. So uneven hatching, you're going down at an angle. This one my furry type of texture, but it's down at an angle. It was fun. And then this one was more like a fanning effect of an uneven stroke. And so what I did was I started with making sure I knew what was the center and tried to hatch lines from there without going too much in the center, but avoiding drawing a circle, And that was interesting. That was interesting, forming a center without having a little guiding circle to go off of. And then this one was, so remember, this is uneven hatching, so this isn't our curved hatching. So these are straight lines giving you the optical illusion that it is curving upwards in a weird way, right? So these are tiny little hatches going in different angles to create this illusion that it curves. I thought that was cool. And also a lot of work, a lot of things. Your brain wants to curve that line really hard, but you do get into the curved hatching next. This one I really enjoyed. It was about as difficult as the cross-hatching cubes inside of a cube, but this one felt more cartoony and a little bit more playful, so I had a little bit extra fun on this one. I tried to be a little bit more whimsical and let loose because I was paying a lot of attention to what is right, what is left, what is up, what is down, and I think the point of this is to make sure that you've got different directions. So the next one we have is our rows of vertical, tightly packed curved hatches. This was my ADHD kicked in, so I did all of the curved hatches. So then we've got our second row of curved hatches where they're stacked on top of each other, different sizes, and I think the point of this was just to really show what you could do to show different versions and levels of something. So if you're laying it down on a flat surface and you want to convey that it's an uneven surface or anything like that, you could do something like this. Or you've got an animal that needs to have different layers of things. Next we have our scribbling. I love scribbling. Scribbling takes so little time, but very strategically done. It can come out really cool. So this one had a sort of tree fanning effect, and so getting that down was actually kind of a challenge because you want it to fan out enough. And so I did a couple layers of that in the examples. And then there is our scribbling from more of a value changing perspective, right? So this is, you're covering a lot of area, and maybe this is your primary base here. And you just layer on your scribbles the same way, more and more and more, to get that dark effect from one corner to the other. Then this one was just a squiggly, wiggly scribble across the whole entire landscape. So this could be a nice base for something that you build off of, or you need something to have a very light feeling visual area. This is a good one. Oh, stippling. Forever stippling. Again, I love it. I freaking love stippling, but my lord, does it take forever. This one is your very basic stipple. Just dot, 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 dot all across. Very, very cutesy, very sweet. And then you get into the next one, which is your more heavy-duty stipple. This is when you start getting into the territory of taking hours and hours of your life away because you're trying to get that value to change. Like, these little boxes that we're doing are just sort of tastes of what it would be like in a bigger picture. I've seen people do some full-on stippling pieces, and it is incredible work, but so much time. I can only imagine. And then the next one we have is sort of this trailing line, similar to what we did in the other one, like the scribbling, but you're stippling it. So I went over it a couple times to kind of bolden that stippled line because I wanted it to stand out a little bit more. Depending on how bold you want that line, the less stippling you would do is kind of the takeaway for some of this, a lot of these basic strokes. Then we have our flowing lines. All right, so I do my best when it comes to these flowing lines. I love them. I think they come out beautifully, and yet my brain has such a hard time with what is, like, it reads it as this line is going up and this line is going down, but when it comes to drawing it in my hand, making that happen, it can be very difficult. I think it's the dyslexia stuff that I have. So I do my best to replicate what was done, but it is by all means not a perfect representation. I go back and I look at some of my boxes and I'm like, well, that line is not doing what it's supposed to. Maybe that just means I need to really work that muscle a little bit more, or finally go to a doctor. I don't know. Then there was a cat. Yeah, I have a cat. His name's Hugo. He's cool. You might hear him occasionally in a couple of these recordings. Is you're seeing that divot get created naturally without drawing a solid line first necessarily. Like, maybe start out lightly, but it gets darker and darker the more you use it as a way. All right, let's get some nice slow music over this. All right, you guys, until next time, it gets even crazier. Peace out and keep drawing. Bye.